Sleeping naked was normal, until he awoke to something that left him stunned. Jake had always slept naked, and it never bothered him before because he lived alone on his small research station, orbiting a distant moon, and nobody ever visited this. Far out in space, but tonight something felt different when he opened his eyes in the darkness of his quarters. The air felt colder than usual, and he noticed a faint blue glow coming from the corner of his room, where nothing should be glowing at all. And his heart started racing when he realized someone was standing there watching him in complete silence. He grabbed his blanket and pulled it up to his chest while his eyes adjusted to the dim light, and what he saw made him freeze in shock, because standing near his desk was a woman, but not a human woman because her skin had a soft purple tint and her eyes glowed with that same blue light he had noticed. She wore what looked like armor, made of crystal and metal, combined together in ways that seemed impossible, and her long silver hair floated around her head as if gravity had no effect on it at all, and she tilted her head while studying him with curiosity. Jake tried to speak, but his voice came out as a whisper when he finally managed to say something, and he asked who she was and how she got inside his station because the doors were sealed, and the security system never alerted him to any breach. The woman smiled and spoke in perfect English, which surprised him even more than her appearance. And she said her name was Lyra, and she came from a world called Vexara, where her people had been watching humans for many cycles, and she needed his help with something urgent. He asked why she chose him, and why she appeared in his room while he was sleeping, and she explained that she needed someone who lived alone and far from other humans, because what she had to share could not be known by many people yet, and his isolation made him perfect for this task. Lyra told him that her people discovered something dangerous approaching human space, and it would arrive within months and destroy everything unless someone acted quickly, and the human governments were too slow and too divided to respond in time to stop what was coming. Jake sat up in bed while keeping the blanket wrapped around himself, and he asked what kind of threat could be so terrible that an advanced alien race needed help from a single human researcher, and she walked closer to him while her armor made soft humming sounds with each step. She explained that the threat was not a weapon or an invasion, but something far worse, and it was a cosmic phenomenon that her people called the Void Wave, and it consumed entire star systems by breaking down the fabric of space itself, and nothing could survive its passage. Her people tried to stop it before but failed, and they lost 3 worlds to its hunger, and now they discovered that humans possessed something unique in their biology that could help create a shield against the Void Wave, but they needed someone willing to undergo a dangerous procedure. Jake felt his mind racing with questions and fear and excitement all mixed together, and he asked what this procedure involved and why it was dangerous, and Lyra sat down on the edge of his bed while maintaining a respectful distance, and her glowing eyes softened with concern. She told him that the procedure would bond his neural pathways with a piece of technology from her world, and it would give him abilities that no human ever had before. But the process was painful, and there was a chance it might not work. And if it failed, his mind could be damaged forever. He asked why she thought he would agree to something so risky when he barely knew her and she could be lying about everything, and Lyra nodded slowly and said she understood his doubt, and she would give him time to decide, but time was running short. Then she did something unexpected and reached out to touch his forehead with one finger, and suddenly his mind filled with images and sensations that were not his own, and he saw her world burning as the Void Wave passed through, and he felt the terror of billions of beings crying out before vanishing into nothingness. He also saw her memories of traveling through space, searching for hope and finding Earth, and watching humans from afar and learning their languages and their customs, and he felt her determination to save both their peoples from the same fate her world suffered. When she removed her finger, Jake gasped for air and tears ran down his face from the intensity of what he experienced, and he knew without doubt that she spoke the truth, and the threat was real, and time was running out for everyone. Lyra stood up and told him she would return tomorrow night for his answer, and she walked toward the wall of his quarters and simply passed through it, like it was made of water, and left him alone in the darkness with his thoughts. Racing Jake spent the entire next day researching everything he could find about cosmic phenomena and void spaces and unusual readings in nearby sectors, and he found scattered reports that matched what Lyra described, and his hands shook when he realized the danger was already documented but ignored. That night he did not sleep and instead waited for Lyra to return, and when she appeared again through his wall, he was sitting on his bed fully dressed this time, and he told her he would do it and he would undergo the procedure because he could not live with himself if he refused, and billions died. Lyra smiled with relief and gratitude, and she told him he was braver than most beings she encountered in her travels, and she promised to guide him through everything that came next and protect him as much as she could during the bonding process. She explained they needed to leave his station immediately and travel to her ship hidden behind the moon. And there, her medical team would perform the procedure, and if successful, he would become the first human to carry Vexaran technology within his mind. Jake gathered a few belongings and followed Lyra as she created a shimmering portal in his quarters, and they stepped through, together into a world of light and crystal and beings with purple skin and glowing eyes, who all stopped to stare at the human who volunteered to save them all. The procedure took 3 days, and Jake screamed through most of it as foreign technology merged with his neurons and rewired his brain in ways that felt like fire burning through every thought, and Lyra held his hand the entire time and whispered encouragement in his ear. When it finally ended, Jake opened his eyes and saw the world differently, because now he could perceive energy fields and quantum fluctuations and the fabric of space itself, and he knew without being told that the procedure worked, and he carried the key to stopping the void wave. Lyra helped him stand and explained that now the real work began because they needed to build a network of shields across human space, and he would need to teach others how to use this technology and convince Earth governments to trust an alien alliance. Jake looked at his hands and saw them glowing faintly with the same blue light that shone in Lyra's eyes, and he realized his life would never be normal again. But he also knew he made the right choice, because sometimes one person can make a difference between survival and extinction. Together they walked toward the bridge of her ship to begin planning the defense of 2 civilizations. And Jake thought about how strange life could be, because just days ago his biggest concern was sleeping naked in his quarters, and now he carried the hopes of billions in his modified mind.